one of the days. It's a beautiful minyan.
Is it really big or small?
It's like 200 people or so. It's a nice size. For Uman, it's not so big.
Is it outside?
It's like in a sort of a tent kind of a thing. Hi, Javier, you made it. Brother, good to see you. Okay.
Okay, for Shlomo,
Amen.
have a wonderful time.
Amen.
Does your family go or just you?
Me and my son. Is that Hashem? And yeah, that's now they're gonna, sometimes they do this. Then why do they have to do that? Okay, to have YouTube open? Okay. Okay. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. This is a really cool chapter. Relates, I think, to our Parsha shtickle. Chapter 25. And it's talking about the timing of Matan Torah. B'chodesh hashlishi l'tzeis me'esh Mitzrayim, the third month. In the third month, the month of Sivan, which is when we receive the Torah. It's cool because it's going to relate to Rosh Hashanah too. So he brings from the Midrash Rabbah, Kohelet Rabbah, Per Gimel, Parsha Gimel, Kol Zman ve'es, L'chol Zman ve'es. Everything has a time. Everything has a time. L'chol Zman ve'es l'chol chayfetz tachas hashamayim. There's a time for all things that are desired under the sky. Zman haya, there was a time set for Adam Harishon to go into Gan Eden, shenichnas the Gan Eden, shemavinichim Gan. Uzman haya lo sheyetze, and there was a time for him to leave Gan Eden. Shnemavigashim Gan Eden, he was exiled. Zman haya leNoach lavo laTeva, there was a time for Noach to go into the ark. Shnemar boata, come into the boat. Uzman haya sheyetze, there's a time for him to go out. Uzman haya Avram shenimol, goes through like all history, long thing. A time for Am Yisrael to have circumcision. Not going to read through all of it. And this is Lakol Zman, right? The first part of the pasuk is Lakol Zman, and then it says Ve'et L'chol Chayfetz. Right over this, the verse like goes, oops. Lakol Zman Ve'et L'chol Chayfetz Tachat Hashamayim. So Lakol Zman were all these other Zmanim, and Eit L'chol Chayfetz is called the time of Matan Torah. Sorry. The Eit L'chol Chayfetz Zman Haya Shetinas and Torah Yisrael. That was the time that there was for the Torah to be given to Am Yisrael. Hey Shloim Aleh. You in the old city? Oh, I don't hear you.
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
I'm nearby. I'm in a park.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yishalayim Yireh Kodesh.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Okay. It's good to see you. So I'm sorry I couldn't come in today. My mom is just like knocked out. I haven't eaten, like I had a piece of toast just recently. Anyways, okay. And so there was a time where the Torah was given. There was a time for that chayfetz, for that. The word chayfetz is a very interesting word. It says l'kol zman, and it says eit l'chol chayfetz. A chayfetz means a thing, but chayfetz also means desire, like lachpotz. For the Torah is like a desirable thing, which was above the heavens, that it should be given below the heavens. Ve'ezeh Torah. That is the Torah. So Maharal, what is this whole midrash about? Saying there was to everything there's a time, and at the time Adam was put into Gan Eden, the time he was exiled, the time Noach went into the ark, the time he went out, and so on, all these other times, and then the time for the Torah is Eis L'chol Chayfetz. What is this whole midrash doing? What's it talking about? Maharal says the purpose of this midrash, and this is a lot of kind of, I've been trying to pick out a key word lately in the chapters of Maharal to help centralize an understanding. So here could be that it has to do with what's the word that he uses? Mechuvan, as opposed to mikre, right? Muskam is mikre kara. The world is not by happenstance. The creation of the world was not by happenstance. Because that's something everyone agrees. That's muskam. That's agreed upon. Everyone recognizes this. Then you look at the world. You look at the world is also orderly and so beautiful. So it's clear that the world is not just randomly popping into existence. This is like the watchmaker argument. Such a thing couldn't just happen. There must be a watchmaker. Look at this perfect watch. Much more than a watch, the whole creation. So the point he's saying of this midrash about all these different times is to be teaching about the opposite of coincidence. The Hashem has an exact time for things to happen, and they're all coming from a place of, like I'm saying the word mechuvan, and I can't remember right now if he uses that word. We'll see if we happen upon a word that fits what I'm looking for here. The opposite of coincidence, like things that are purposeful, meant to be, right? And because of how deeply the Torah is meant to be, we're going to see it gives us a tremendous strength to connect, as we're going to see, to the present moment, and to even bring our lower selves, our evil inclination, and make it a part of our service of Hashem and not leave anything out. So the Torah as the thing that holds the wholeness of that sense of Hashem's purposefulness in creation brings us to a sense of presence and an ability to bring our whole self into that presence and serve Hashem with our whole self without having to leave anything out. So we'll see more about this in a minute as we go on. Is that Eli Or? Gewalt. Oh, I love it that you made it. Oh, did he just disappear?
No, I'm here.
Where are you, Lakewood?
I'm in Lakewood. Hope to be in Oman in 2-3 days.
Oh, me too. Mirz Hashem, I hope I'll see you soon. Gewaldig. Sorry for turning up. It's so good to see you. Amazing. Okay. So we're going to see this, how it's very like, I love bringing in the concept of the hokey pokey, that you put your whole self in and do the hokey pokey. This is Torah. We put our whole self in. We're going to learn about this. Putting your whole self in means into the present moment, and your whole self, including your Yetzer Hara. We're going to see about this, how the Torah has that tremendous koach to help us do this. So firstly, the midrash here that the Maharal's bringing is about the whole world. First of all, that the whole world is not by happenstance. And this is davar zeh b'ochacham legalos. It was this itself that the Chachamim wanted to reveal. That the Torah, being the kind of form of the world, the spiritual blueprint of the world, and all of the events throughout history are all purposeful. Nothing is happenstance. Klomar, kasher nichlas Adam legan Eden, when Adam and Chava first went into Gan Eden, zeu tachlis shleimus ha'adam, that this was the time of like the greatest completeness of humanity. Don't think that was just happenstance, that which is like the essence of creation of humanity. There was a lo yitachen shelo mikra ein zman miyuchad lo. If it was by happenstance, then it wouldn't have a specific time. Aval lo haya davar kach, rak haya bezman miyuchad. Shelo haya davar mikra was not by happenstance. Not only is the creation of humanity not by happenstance, but even, which was the time of completeness of Adam and Chava in Gan Eden, even the leaving of Gan Eden, that you might think, well, that was already not meant to happen. This is already a fissure, a disconnect with God. It wasn't meant to be. There was no specific time for that to happen. That must have been kind of not, missing that sense of purpose. Don't think that Adam sinned. He happened to have sinned, and so therefore he got exiled. Death came into the world through the sin of eating of the tree of knowledge, and this also was not by happenstance. Even that itself was not by happenstance. Unbelievable. Like the word memuchan in the Megillah, it was set up, and not that it was a setup, but it was meant to be. It was known that it would be. There was a time already. It was known, and some higher sense. This is something we have to be careful with. It's still true today with everything wrong we do, and so we have to be careful with. We've spoken about this a few times in different shurim. I forgot if I mentioned it last week. The Rambam in Hilchas Tshuva writes about, that's where he writes about the paradox of free choice and divine omniscience. Because if you go down, the labyrinth, it can really stop you from doing tshuva. Because you say, well, everything I ever did was Hashem doing it, and why should I really do tshuva? And anyway, Hashem knows if I'll do tshuva anyway, so I might as well just eat Doritos and watch Netflix, and Hashem will take care of it. The whole idea of effort and of taking our free choice seriously, we have to not go down that corridor, to know that it is true that Hashem knows everything and is behind everything, but we have to mainly live in the world of free choice and do our best and be responsible for our actions. Maharal here is talking on the other side of the coin. He's saying that this midrash is one of the few places where this light comes from a beyond kind of a place, and says, no, there was already a time for, they knew he was going to sin. There was already a time. And don't think, because this is also can be a great strengthening for people after they do something wrong, to know that whatever they did wrong can never really disconnect, and Hashem always knew, and Hashem is waiting for them to do tshuva. Again, this is like deep, there's a deep music of how this works, and you have to find it, that inner truth in your davening, and not try and figure out with your mind. But so even the time we get kicked out was already set up, and the fact that there was going to be a flood, and Noah going in, and Noah coming out, and all that stuff. And then he gets to Torah. This is a real gewalt when he gets to Torah. V'avein ma shamar l'chol zman ve'es l'chol chayfetz kedvarim shem gufnim kol knisas anu ganei nisas misham chayv salam churban. And anything that's physical, all these physical events, they're called, to everything there is a zman. L'kol zman. But that which is purely like spiritual, we've come across this word before, Maharal, seichel. The Torah itself is this light of Hashem's will that precedes anything physical. it doesn't fit underneath time. It's not something that happens within time. Now he's talking, it's really cool. He's talking about the present moment. The present moment, ha'ata. Very geschmack terminology, very enjoyable terminology from Maharal. Ki ha'ata, the present. Shuha mechaber ha'avar v'ha'asid, which is that which connects the past and the future. That present, which connects the past and the future, eino zman. The real present moment actually is not time. That means to say that which is totally spiritual and does not fall below time. It happens in the present moment. It means the Torah is a constantly present thing. It's not underneath time. It means it doesn't have a history. It doesn't have a future. The Torah just is in the present moment. That's how spiritual things that are completely spiritual and are above time, relate to times that they're just there in the present moment. Why dafka would it be the Torah was given, but there is a historical date that it kind of broke through and became available in that present way, which continues, and not before that date, not after that date. So this is something having to do with needing to first leave Mitzrayim, which he spoke about. I think this is something he spoke about less in this Sefer and more in the Sefer Gvuras Hashem. How that relates, we're not going to get into right now. He doesn't get into right now. But what he's getting into is this present moment idea. Okay, there needed to be first a leaving of Egypt. But why did it have to be 3 months after? They left the 15th of Nisan, and they didn't get the Torah till the 6th or the 7th of Sivan. So that's a 3 months, not exactly 3 months later, but they were into the third month post Exodus. Why not right away? We need to give a reason for that. The reason is because Torah is above, is totally spiritual, and is not below time. So therefore Torah relates to that which is third. We've already explained that the present moment, which is not really time, that which remains present is not called time. Hu shayach dafka l'Torah. That's something that is specifically relates to Torah. And because this present moment is the third, why is it called the third? Because it's that which connects the past and the future. Ki ha'ata mechaber hazman is that which connects the past and the future, and therefore it's called the third because it comes in between the right and the left, the past and the future. V'hu shlishi. That's why the Torah was given the third month. The third month in it is related to number 3. Hu kmo ha'ata. It therefore has a semblance, a spiritual connection to the present moment. She'eno zman, which is not considered time at all. Nechshav she'eno zman nechshav. Therefore, it's connected to Torah. It's called that the moment, right? The other ones are called zman, makol zman, all those historical events. The Torah is called an ace, which is related to the word ata, the moment, a moment of that which is desirable, that great desirable thing which is the Torah. And this is why the astrological sign of Sivan is Gemini, Gevalt, which is twins. Ki hashlishi asher hu bein hashnayim hu mechaber hashnayim, because the month of Sivan is that which connects the two twins. Hari b'koach hashlishi yeshnayim. That's the whole power of three, is to be able to connect two to each other. Kihu mischaber zelazeh. It connects one to the other. Kasherhu beinehem, because it is that which can. That's what number three is all about. Is that it can mediate and connect between one and two. Therefore, the third month has the astrological sign of the twins of Gemini. Therefore, it makes sense the Torah to be given then, because the Torah itself and that third month are considered like brethren, like twins, because they are relating to the present moment and that which can connect one thing to another, the past to the future. These matters are very deep, and very clear. As we can see and understand that the Torah, that what's prepared for the Torah, that which can sort of hold the Torah, is the third. As the Gemara, and we saw that before, it's called the triple Torah, the Torah Nevi'im and Ksuvin. It was given by Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the third sibling in the third month, after 3 days of preparation, and so on. There are a lot of threes. Which is Bar Lamalo. V'shvil zeh huvchar hashlishi the Torah. Kasher yatzu Yisrael azman hazeh tchilas min Yisrael ve'ein zman muchan rak hashlishi. And so the post-Exodus, that's when time began to be counted as Jews. And so once they got into the third month, that was when would be the best time for that moment of Torah to happen, which now remains the present moment. I'm going to skip a bit to the end of the chapter here. We talks about the Yetzer Hara. Here's an amazing thing here. U'maseches Kiddushin, Daf Lamed Amud Bet. V'samtem, Moshe Rabbeinu says, V'samtem is Dvarai Eila, right in the Vayim Shemoah. You shall place these words before you, right? Samtem, the Gemara takes it apart and says, Sam Tam. It is a elixir of wholeness and means like of life. Nimshal Torah besam chayim. Mashal Adam shehikas beno makah gdol maniach ritil gabav amar lo bni kol zman shetia zu al gabei makah chol ma shehanascha. There's an analogy to a person who gave his son some kind of a beating, unfortunately, and a great makah, and then put a retia, a bandage over it. And he said, my son, so long as this is over your wound, you can eat whatever you want. You can wash in hot water, cold water, whatever you want. But if you take it off, harimale numi, then it could get infected with things that are meat. So Hashem said, my children, I've created the Yetzer Hara. This is very hard for us. This is like a wound. Ubarasi la Torah tavlin, but I've made Torah, which is a healing. Kol zman shetem oskim b'Torah, so long as you're involving yourself in learning, ein atem nimsarim b'yad Yetzer Hara, you will not be given over to the hands of the evil inclination. So then Maharal Tiferet said, ein atem oskim b'Torah, atem nimsarim b'yad, and if not, then there's a danger you could be given over to it. Uperish that. What does this mean? The evil inclination has no power over the Torah. The Torah is the very order of all of creation that are created upon it. Therefore, it heals the evil inclination. Can't pull us out of the order. Torah keeps us in, keeps us connected to the harmony of creation. If we wouldn't have it, then we might get pulled away. But the Torah is a great, great guard. Now he says an amazing thing. And therefore, on Matan Torah, on the day of Shavuos, there is a special offering, the only time that they would bring chametz into the Beis HaMikdash for a public offering. Personal offerings, when you bring a Thanksgiving offering, there was an element of chametz there too. But as a public offering, there's never any chametz, except on Shavuos. Because the evil inclination is called the what do you call it? The Sa'or, what do you call it that makes the dough rise, that you put in with the dough? I'm forgetting the word.
Yeast.
Yeast, exactly. Thank you. The yeast that is in the dough, as it puffs us up and so on. That's the analogy for the Yetzer Hara. And so we don't bring chametz because we don't bring the Yetzer Hara kind of into the Beis HaMikdash. But sorry, I lost my place here. When we need, when it's the day of Matan Torah, we dafka bring chametz into the Beis HaMikdash to show that when we have the Torah, we don't need to leave the Yetzer Hara out. We don't need to distance it from us. Incredible. Therefore, it's a mitzvah dafka to bring the chametz right in on the day of Matan Torah. He's going to speak this out. The Gemara says, anybody who's the greater that you are, the greater that the person is, the greater their evil inclination is also. Therefore, it's dafka there to be on the day of Matan Torah that they bring chametz. We need to really understand this deeply. Not like other korbanot shasur hakriv chametz, that we're never allowed to bring chametz. Usually we have to push away the evil inclination from the place of worship of Hashem. But the day that we're getting the Torah, the Torah gives a great guard from the evil inclination, such that it cannot rule over us. Therefore, we don't have to distance it. We can bring it right in. Mamish amazing. Uktat Ramaz, we spoke about this a bit last time. The Moshe answered the angels within last week because of all of because of all of the difficulties, the jealousies, the hatred, the everything going into exile and slavery and so on, and all the difficulties of this world. Therefore, the Torah is specifically meant for us down here, like we learned last week. The Seder of the world is the Torah is meant dafka for us. This is like kind of our crowning glory that we have a Yetzer Hara, and therefore the Torah relates to us the most of anything in creation. Because we have a Yetzer Hara, that's what makes it that the Torah comes down to us. Right? And then he says, and there's even another reason. That also the Gemara says that on Shavuos, everyone agrees that you have to enjoy the Yantif. So there's an argument in the Talmud. The Torah describes Yantif. It says there should be a Shabbaton LaHashem. In another place, it says there should be Shabbaton Lachem. So what is the Yantif? Is it for Hashem or is it for us? And the Gemara says, even the opinion that says you should dedicate the entire Yantif only to Hashem. So one opinion says it should be either only for Hashem or only for you. The other opinion says it should be half for Hashem and half for you. That's how they each deal with the contradiction in the verses. But everyone agrees that on Shavuos there has to be an element that is for you. You have to be enjoying the Yontif physically. You cannot dedicate the Yontif to fasting and prayer, even according to the opinion that that's an option on every Yontif, but on Shavuos it's not an option. Have to be lachem, ba'inan lachem, shu yom shnit b'Torah Yisrael. V'zeki hayom hazeh tachtonim ikar. This day of the giving of the Torah is the time that is revealing that we down here are the essence. The Mashiach that Hashem came down with everything from all of heaven and gave the Torah down into this world. Yom zeh, usually everything is pointed upwards and looking upwards, but on this day, all of heaven is looking downwards and looking at, wow, it's all meant to be here. Therefore, this day is chametz, is the public offering of chametz in the Beis HaMikdash, public offering of the yeast, of that which represents the evil inclination. And those two breads are brought also with a peace offering, which is also the only time that there's a public peace offering. Usually shlamim, a peace offering, is only a private offering. Only on Shavuos is there a public peace offering also. Why is that? Because lo nimtza b'kol korbanos shalmei tzibur, we never find a peace offering of the public except on Shavuos. Because on this day there's great peace and connectivity between above and below. There's eating of the mizbeach, that is, so to speak, the eating of heaven, and there's the eating of the person because everyone has to eat. And so he just summarizes, when we left Mitzrayim on the 15th of Nisan, we're not yet ready for this consciousness of Torah. We needed to have, we couldn't get the next day, miyad l'macharat. They had to get to the third month, which would be the month, like we said, third representing the present moment, and they could relate the Torah in the present moment, and where they could reach that awareness of the specialness of being physical beings and celebrate that as well, celebrate the chametz. And when it's the day of the Torah, there's nothing that needs to be left outside. It all gets brought in. Put your whole self in and do the hokey pokey. It's amazing simcha of Shavuos. So how does this relate to Rosh Hashanah and Elul and Tshuva? Well, the most simplest answer might be in the Shmoneh Esrei, when we daven for Tshuva, the first thing we say, Hashivenu Avinu L'Sarsecha. Please Hashem, bring us back to your Torah. That's the beginning of Tshuva, is just making sure, am I learning? Could I be learning more? You know, the halacha is a person should be learning have a set time for learning every day and a set time for learning every night, even if it's a very small amount of time, whatever you can afford, whatever you can do, to tune into this amazing present moment of the Torah. And you'll see wonders. I can promise you that if you stick to it, you'll see that it starts relating to things going on in your life. It's an amazing thing how that happens. And so Shivenu Vinu L'Sarsecha. And secondly, the Parsha of Nitzavim, which is also the Parsha, always the Parsha right before Rosh Hashanah. Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem Lifnei Hashem Lokechem. You are standing today, all of you, before Hashem. That sense of standing before Hashem, that is Rosh Hashanah. So much of what Rosh Hashanah is about is returning to that present moment, that awesome sense of just standing before Hashem. And on Rosh Hashanah, on the Musaf, we're going to mention the whole story of Har Sinai. The shofarot, the sounds of the shofar of Har Sinai. And it's just a huge part of our tshuva. And to know that the more we can connect to Torah, the less we're going to have to be afraid of the evil inclination of our physicality, and the more we can know that we can bring it in and make it part of our avoda. And Hashem should be Ksiva Chasima Tov, a wonderful year for everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Any thoughts or questions? All right.
I just thought of
Yeah.
Lag BaOmer. Of the
What about
three,
it?
of 3 and 3, of
Mm.
3 Lag BaOmer, and
Awesome.
Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, and the whole.
I love that.
Yeah.
33. It's Gavaldic. There's
Yeah.
already it's like on the Sod level. There's already a connection to the 3, to the present moment. That's a Gaval.
Yeah, and it's happening, between Pesach and Shavuot too, connecting the two.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. A hidden level of the 3. Very beautiful.
And we happen to live at 33 Loomis Street.
Oh, really? I gotta come visit one day. It's a
Yeah. Bezrat Hashem, amen.
One day, when the time is right. Yafi.
Thank you so much. Yasher Koach, Ketiva v'Chatima Tova.
You too. So next week is going to be Rosh Hashanah. The week after, it's going to be Yom Kippur already. I think maybe we'll be able to do it. We'll see. We'll be in touch about it.